Have you ever wondered what would happen if the sky suddenly began sending urgent signals? As the world shakes with wars, natural disasters, and growing moral chaos, many people believe the signs are appearing more and more often. A blood-red moon hanging above the pyramids, fireballs racing across the night sky, a giant glowing creature floating among the clouds, a ring of fire opening in the sky, the shadow of a massive figure standing on the cloud layer, an invisible darkness sliding across the mountains, strange shape-shifting objects, flashes of heavenly light breaking through the clouds, the sky flickering as if a system glitch, and bright objects shooting rapidly through the night, all of it appearing like a series of warnings that send chills down many people's spines. Scenes like these make people ask, are they only coincidences or reminders that time may be moving faster than we think? If you're watching this video, take a moment to reflect and leave a prayer in the comments as a way to tell God that you are still listening to Him. Amen. And now, take a close look at each sign, because the truth behind them may surprise you. Let's begin with 1. Blood moon above the Pyramid of Egypt. The hourglass has started to run. A blood-red moon hanging directly above the top of an ancient pyramid, the sight appeared so clearly that it left the whole world stunned. It was not a blurry image or a random flash of light, but a bright red circle, perfect in shape, like a giant eye looking down over the desert. When the first video began to spread, millions of people stopped what they were doing. That single moment made it feel as if history had just touched something far more unsettling. On the dry Giza plateau of Egypt, where the massive pyramids have stood firm for more than 4,000 years, the night sky suddenly became the stage for something no one expected. The Pyramid of Khufu rose like a giant hourglass of history, and the red moon hanging above its peak looked like the very first grain of sand beginning to fall. The hot desert wind swept across the ancient stone blocks, and under that strange red glow, the entire structure seemed to come alive, as if it were witnessing a declaration coming from the heavens. In the book of Joel 2:30-31, the Bible speaks of a scene that sends a chill through the reader. I will show wonders in the heavens and on the earth, blood and fire and pillars of smoke. The sun will be turned to darkness and the moon to blood before the great and terrible day of the Lord comes. When those ancient words echoed in many people's minds, the image of the blood moon above the pyramid suddenly felt more frightening, as if a warning had been written thousands of years ago. Picture the scene more clearly. The sky completely dark, not a single cloud blocking the view, while the red moon hangs in the air directly above the pyramid that rises nearly 480 feet high. The red light spreads across the massive limestone blocks, staining them the color of dark blood. Long shadows stretch across the desert sand, looking like giant black arms crawling out of the earth. The person holding the camera trembles with every movement, because the sight is almost too perfect, too precise, as if the sign had been placed in exactly the right spot. The book of Acts 2:19-20 repeats the same prophecy. I will show wonders in the heavens above and signs on the earth below, blood and fire and clouds of smoke. The sun will be turned to darkness and the moon to blood before the great and glorious day of the Lord comes. When many people read those lines again, a question began to grow in their minds. If signs truly appear in the sky, could they really be just coincidence? Of course, skeptics quickly offered a familiar explanation: a lunar eclipse. According to them, when the Earth blocks the sunlight, the remaining light passes through the atmosphere and scatters, causing the moon to turn red. But the question that still troubles many people remains: why did the red moon sit exactly above the top of the pyramid, an ancient symbol of human power? And why was its circle so sharp and clear, almost like a seal pressed onto the sky? In Revelation 6:12, another frightening image is described. I watched as the Lamb opened the sixth seal. There was a great earthquake. The sun turned black like sackcloth made of hair, and the whole moon turned blood red. These words are not just an old story. For many people, They sound like a bell ringing in the middle of the night, warning that a serious moment may be drawing near. Standing before that sight, in the middle of a desert stretching for hundreds of square miles, the pyramid looked like a giant hourglass of history, and the red moon above it seemed like a signal that the hourglass had just been flipped. The grains of time were beginning to fall faster than ever before. Perhaps what sends the coldest shiver down people's spines is not only the red moon itself, but the feeling that the moment was not random at all. It looks like a sign placed in exactly the right place at the right time with the right symbol, as if a warning had been written across the sky for humanity to see. And if it truly was a sign, then the more frightening question still lies ahead. Because the blood moon was only the first event, and what happened next in the skies around the world would become far stranger. 2. Mysterious fireballs appear all at once. The sky is calling out. It happens suddenly, like an electric jolt in the middle of the night. A car speeding down a quiet highway suddenly slammed on the brakes, the tires screeching sharply before the engine went silent. 5 young people pushed the doors open and rushed outside, their eyes locked on the sky. Above them, it wasn't just 1 or 2, but dozens of glowing fireballs floating in the air, blazing like giant torches hanging in the sky. The quiet, ordinary scene of rural America instantly turned into something surreal. Weak streetlights cast a dim glow on the cold black asphalt, while overhead, orange gold spheres about the size of basketballs drifted slowly across the sky. They didn't fall, they didn't shake, and they made no sound at all. The entire sky seemed frozen in a strange, heavy silence. In the Gospel of Luke 21:25, it is written, "There will be signs in the sun, moon, and stars. On the earth, nations will be in distress and confusion because of the roaring and tossing of the sea." The fireballs moved in a formation that looked almost perfect, the distance between them holding steady inch by inch. They glided across the sky as if an invisible hand were guiding them. Their light reflected off the car windows, casting warm golden streaks, yet the people standing beneath them could feel the heat on their skin, like standing close to a flame. One person in the group, hands shaking, held up a phone to record. His voice nearly caught in his throat as he whispered that it felt like something up there was watching them. The scene lasted for several minutes, long enough for simple amazement to slowly turn into a chilling feeling that no one could quite explain. In Gospel of Matthew 24-29, it is written, "Immediately after the distress of those days, the sun will be darkened, the moon will not give its light, the stars will fall from the sky, and the powers of the heavens will be shaken." When the video spread online, many people quickly tried to explain it in familiar ways. Some said it was just drones flying in formation. But what kind of drone flies in groups of dozens without the sound of propellers? What kind of drone can hold a perfect formation for several minutes without drifting even an inch? And what kind of drone gives off a warm yet powerful glow, bright enough to light up an entire dark road? The sight reminded many people of ancient descriptions of messengers of light appearing in the sky, not stories from legend, but words recorded in sacred writings that have existed for thousands of years. Points of light moving in order, carrying a sense of authority yet without chaos, as if they were carrying out a mission already set in place. Luke 21:25 continues with the warning, "There will be signs, and the nations will be filled with anxiety and fear." Watching the video again, you may begin to feel what those 5 people felt in that moment, a presence beyond anything familiar to human experience. Not chaos, not a natural accident. It felt more like a signal being sent down from the sky. One by one, the fireballs slowly drifted farther away and disappeared into the deep night, leaving the empty highway behind and 5 people standing silently in the middle of the road. But the question the scene left behind still hangs in the air. If one day you were traveling down your own road and the sky suddenly lit up like that, would you stop and look up? Or would you keep driving as if you had seen nothing at all? 3. A giant sea creature floating above the clouds, UFO, or a warning? A giant sea creature hanging in the night sky. Could it be a UFO, an illusion, or a mysterious signal from the spiritual realm? That question exploded when a video began spreading online. In the middle of a clear sky, a huge glowing blue shape appeared from behind a white cloud, leaving a quiet neighborhood completely stunned. No one was prepared for that moment, and even more unsettling, no one knew what they were actually seeing. That night had started like any other. People were sitting outside their homes, talking under the calm evening sky. Then, suddenly, a cold blue light spread out like a wave. From above the clouds, a massive shape slowly appeared. Its body was round and glowing, with a diameter estimated to be hundreds of feet. Long, thin strands hung down from it, moving gently as if they were swimming through an invisible ocean in the sky. Joel 2:30 once recorded a strange prophecy. "I will show wonders in the heavens and on the earth, blood and fire and pillars of smoke." The long tendrils trembled softly in the wind, reflecting the blue light into countless sparkling rays, like millions of tiny stars. The sight was both beautiful and unsettling at the same time. There was no explosion, no smoke, and no sign of machinery. The shape simply drifted slowly across the sky, almost as if it were observing the world below. People quickly pulled out their phones to record it. In the video, their voices sounded both excited and afraid. Some shouted that it had to be a UFO. Others called it a giant jellyfish in the sky. But when you look closely at the slow, graceful way it moves, doesn't it feel as if the sky might be revealing something far beyond imagination? Revelation 8:10-11 describes a scene that makes many people think, "The third angel sounded his trumpet, and a great star fell from heaven, burning like a torch. It fell on a third of the rivers and on the springs of water." The name of the star is Wormwood. After the video spread widely, many people quickly offered a familiar explanation. They said it was simply the exhaust plume of a rocket, something often mentioned with launches by SpaceX or Falcon 9 rockets. But one question still troubled many viewers. Why would those exhaust trails form a shape that looks so much like a giant creature with long, clear tendrils? When people watched the video again, some began to consider another possibility. Maybe it wasn't a natural accident, and not exactly technology either. Perhaps it was a sign allowed to appear at a time when humanity seems to be sinking deeper into confusion and disorder. Joel 2:30 echoes once more like a quiet reminder. "I will show wonders in the heavens and on the earth." Maybe the most important thing is not what we call it, an atmospheric phenomenon or a trick of light. What matters more is the feeling it leaves behind. A moment when people are forced to look up at the sky and wonder whether the world might be entering a time when ancient signs begin appearing again. And if one night you look up and see a giant creature of light drifting silently across the clouds, would it only be a passing phenomenon, or something slowly drawing closer to our world with every passing minute? 4. A blazing ring hanging in the sky, a gate to hell or heaven. A massive ring of fire hung in the night sky, glowing brightly like some kind of portal opening in space. The scene appeared in a video recorded in Chile and quickly sent chills through millions of viewers. There was no lightning, no explosion, only a silent red-orange ring of fire slowly turning in the air. The video was captured by a social media user while looking up at the famously clear night sky of that region. As the camera pointed upward, a giant circle slowly came into view. It was not a cloud, and it didn't resemble any familiar atmospheric phenomenon. A steady orange-red glow surrounded its outer edge, forming an almost perfect circle, while the center remained sunk in a deep darkness that was hard to explain. Matthew 24-27 once described a moment that makes many people pause and think. "For as lightning comes from the east and shines to the west, so will be the coming of the Son of Man. The ring did not move like an airplane or a satellite. It rotated slowly and steadily, almost like a gate opening from another world. The light along the rim flickered gently, spreading downward toward the ground like a strange halo. The person filming kept zooming into the dark center, breathing heavily in the video, as if even the witness could hardly believe what they were seeing. The darkness in the middle of the ring was what unsettled people the most. It reflected no light and revealed no structure inside. It was simply a perfectly round black void hanging in the sky, like a door opening to somewhere unknown. Revelation 9:1-2 describes a haunting image. The fifth angel sounded his trumpet, and I saw a star that had fallen from heaven to earth. It opened the shaft of the bottomless pit. Smoke rose from it like smoke from a great furnace. Soon after the video began spreading online, the usual explanations appeared. Some suggested it was simply a natural phenomenon not yet fully understood. But those who watched the footage closely raised a question. What kind of natural event could create a perfect ring of fire, rotating steadily and hovering in the sky for several minutes like that? Many people began connecting the sight to ancient warnings about signs appearing in the heavens. As unusual events seem to appear more often in skies around the world, they no longer feel like isolated incidents. Instead, they look more like pieces of a much larger picture slowly coming into view. Matthew 24:27 echoes again like a reminder. For as lightning comes from the east and shines to the west, so will be the coming of the Son of Man. Science may eventually provide an explanation in the future, but that moment remains captured in the video. A giant ring of fire hanging in the sky, slowly turning like a gate waiting for someone to step through it. And the question that leaves many people with a chill still hangs in the air. If that gate truly exists, what exactly are we standing at the entrance to? 5. The giant standing on the clouds, the sign of the Son of Man, has appeared. A brief moment in the sky left millions of people stunned. A giant, human-like figure suddenly appeared among the clouds, standing upright like a towering being watching over the entire world. It was not lightning, and it was not a faint illusion. The outline of a head, shoulders, body, and 2 legs could be clearly seen in the dim light of the night sky, creating a sight that sent chills through anyone who saw it. The video begins when someone casually points a camera up toward the sky. Between slow-moving gray-white clouds, a massive shape slowly comes into view. It looks hundreds of feet tall, standing firmly like a living monument. Its arms hang down at its sides, its body straight, the head slightly tilted as if watching the world below. The person filming gasps in shock and quickly zooms in, trying to capture every detail before the scene disappears. Matthew 24:30 once described a sign that makes many people reflect, "Then will appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven. And all the peoples of the earth will mourn when they see the Son of Man coming on the clouds with power and great glory." The clouds around the figure begin to shift gently, forming layers of light and shadow that make the human shape stand out even more. Broad shoulders, a tall frame, and legs planted firmly as if standing right on the clouds themselves. There is no sound, no lightning, only a quiet but powerful presence that leaves viewers feeling both amazed and deeply in awe. Imagine standing under that sky yourself, looking up and seeing a giant human figure appearing in the clouds. Would you think it was only a coincidence of nature, or a message being sent down from somewhere higher? Luke 21:27 records a similar image. Then they will see the Son of Man coming in a cloud with power and great glory. As the video spread across social media, many people quickly offered the usual explanation. They said it was simply pareidolia, the human brain seeing familiar shapes in clouds. But those who watched the video closely began to ask a different question. If it was just random clouds, why did the figure appear so clear that the head, shoulders, body, and legs could all be recognized so completely? Those details led many viewers to look at the scene from another perspective. It did not seem like just a strangely shaped cloud, but more like a sign drawn across the sky. An image that reminds people of ancient prophecies about a day when humanity would witness a powerful appearance in the clouds of heaven. Matthew 24:30 echoes again like a key to understanding the moment. Then will appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven. Many people may still choose to explain it through science. Yet that moment remains captured in the video. A giant human figure standing among the clouds, quietly looking down at the world, as if reminding us that the sky is sometimes more than just a place of clouds and wind. And the question that continues to linger in many minds is this: if that truly was a sign in the sky, could the moment humanity has long been warned about be drawing closer than ever before? 1. Doe. 6. A giant shadow over the mountain, as if something invisible is passing by. A short video filmed in bright midday sunlight has left many people puzzled. There were no clouds in the sky, no airplanes, no columns of smoke. Yet, on the green mountainside, a massive shadow slowly slid across the ground. The sight was so strange and unclear that viewers were not sure what they were actually looking at. At first, the young woman's camera simply moved slowly across an ordinary landscape, green treetops and patches of grass shining brightly under the sun. But then, from the edge of the frame, a deep, dark area suddenly spilled down the mountainside. The shadow was hundreds of feet wide, covering part of the slope like an invisible curtain sliding across the land. What made it even stranger was that the sky remained perfectly clear and the sun was still shining brightly. Matthew 24:29 once spoke about strange changes in the heavens. Immediately after the distress of those days, the sun will be darkened, the moon will not give its light, the stars will fall from the sky, and the powers of the heavens will be shaken. The darkness kept moving slowly. It did not jerk, and it did not suddenly disappear. It glided across the mountainside as if some enormous object were flying overhead, yet the camera captured no shape in the sky at all. No wings, no body, no sound. And only a deep shadow drifting by like an invisible presence. Hebrews 12:26-27 also speaks about a great shaking of heaven and earth. At that time his voice shook the earth, but now he has promised, "Once more I will shake not only the earth but also the heavens." These words suggest that the things which can be shaken will be removed. When the video began spreading online, many people quickly offered familiar explanations. Some said it was only a rare lighting illusion, a trick of the eye. But those who watched the clip carefully asked a simple question: if it was just a shadow, then where was the object casting it? Imagine standing on that same mountainside yourself, watching a giant shadow slide across the ground while the sky above is completely empty. Would you think it was only a natural event, or would you wonder if something unseen had just passed overhead? Matthew 24:29 echoes again like a quiet reminder. The powers of the heavens will be shaken. Those words have led some people to wonder if these strange changes in the sky might be more than simple coincidence. That moment is still there in the video. A wide shadow moving across the mountainside under a sky without a single cloud. No one can see what created it, yet the shadow remains, still moving, and then slowly slipping out of the frame. And what stays with many viewers the most is the feeling that lingers after the clip ends. If something truly invisible passed across that sky, was it only a strange accident of nature, or could it be a sign that greater changes are beginning to appear in the heavens and on the earth? 7. A shape-shifting creature like a giant squid in the sky over San Bernardino. A sight that left many people stunned appeared in the sky over the city of San Bernardino, California. In the middle of a hazy cloud and strange light, a floating object began changing its shape right before everyone's eyes. In that moment, it felt as if the sky itself had opened for a second, revealing a truth many of us had never been ready to face. At first, the object was simply a round, glowing mass hanging in the air. But just seconds later, it stretched out, bent, and then split into several branches that looked like soft tentacles moving through water. The shape immediately made many people think of a giant squid swimming across the sky. Those tentacles moved slowly, stretching out for hundreds of feet before pulling back again, almost like a living creature breathing. The color of the object kept changing, from pale white to deep red, then back to a cold silver. It made no sound and left no smoke behind. It simply kept shifting shape in the air, as if it were testing different forms. The video quickly spread across social media. People zoomed in on each frame and noticed that the object never kept one stable structure. One moment, it curled into a ball. The next moment, it stretched out like a giant creature slowly reaching across the night sky. At certain moments, the glowing tentacles twisted together in a way that looked almost like they were watching the ground. Many comments appeared under the video, and one sentence kept repeating again and again, sending chills through viewers. It's looking down. 2 Corinthians 11:14 once warned about dangerous disguises. Even Satan disguises himself as an angel of light. That verse has led many people to believe that not every light in the sky carries a good meaning. What made the sight even more unsettling was the object's constant transformation. It did not move like an airplane or a satellite. Instead, it stretched, twisted, and reshaped itself again and again, almost like a living creature existing in a different kind of environment than ours. Some people tried to explain it as nothing more than smoke or a trick of the light. But if it were only smoke, why would the shape be so clear that the tentacles could separate, twist, and then join back together like parts of a complete body? The book of Revelation 12:3-4 describes a great sign appearing in the sky. A great red dragon, with 7 heads and 10 horns. Its tail swept a third of the stars out of the sky and threw them down to the earth. Those words have led many people to wonder if strange signs in the sky might not always be natural events. The more carefully people watch the video, the stronger the feeling of unease becomes. The object does not seem to simply drift across the sky without meaning. It shifts shape, turns slowly, and remains there like a presence actively moving within our space. Maybe it is only a phenomenon that science has not yet explained, but it could also be a warning that unseen forces are more active now than ever before. And the moment that truly sends a chill down many people's spines is the final scene of the video. The object does not disappear. It slowly stretches out one more time, as if preparing to change into yet another shape. It is still transforming, and it seems to be moving closer with every passing second. 8. Heaven hidden behind the clouds, the colors of eternal hope. Sometimes the sky is not just endless space. It can feel like a thin curtain hiding something deeper. In a video shared on TikTok, that rare moment appeared. Behind the soft white clouds, gentle colors suddenly shone through, like the doorway to another world. When you see a sight like that, your heart seems to slow down, as if you are standing before something both sacred and strangely familiar. The light is not bright or blinding. Instead, it spreads softly, like the breath of peace. Rainbow shades blend together, warm gold, deep blue, and gentle pink, all woven behind the thin clouds like the curtain of an eternal garden. The feeling does not seem like an ordinary sky event. It feels more like a doorway quietly opening. The person filming almost stood still while pointing the camera upward. The fluffy white cloud in front looks like a soft archway, and behind it is a layer of glowing but gentle light, like a world existing just beyond the sky's curtain. You can almost feel a sense of peace spreading through every frame, as if the sky is whispering an invitation. Psalm 19, verse 1, once described the sky as a giant display showing the glory of the Creator. The heavens declare the glory of God. The skies proclaim the work of His hands. When soft rainbow light spreads across the clouds, many people believe it is not just the colors of nature, but a message about beauty beyond this world. The longer you watch the video, the more unusual the scene appears. The light behind the clouds is not scattered or chaotic. It forms gentle layers, almost like fields of light opening up. The colors are not harsh or blinding. They blend softly together, leaving viewers with a strange feeling of emotion, like remembering a place far away that somehow still feels familiar. Many people who watched the video said they could not explain why their eyes suddenly filled with tears. It was not fear, it was hope. The scene made people think of a place where pain no longer exists, where chaos is gone, and only eternal peace remains. Revelation 21 verse 1 describes the final future of humanity with a powerful image of hope. Then I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth had passed away, and there was no longer any sea. The gentle colors behind the clouds make some people feel that, once in a while, the sky reveals a small glimpse of that eternal world. Of course, some say this may simply be an optical effect, when sunlight bends through thin layers of cloud, but what truly makes the video special is the feeling it brings. Not fear, but a deep and quiet hope. The beauty of the scene does not look like the skies we usually see. It feels calm, peaceful, and full of life, almost like a reminder that beyond the clouds of this world, there may be a place far more perfect. Maybe that moment was only a brief glimpse, but for many people, it felt like a gentle encouragement from heaven, reminding us that our journey on earth is only temporary. And if that doorway truly is opening behind the clouds, then perhaps we have only seen a very small part of the world waiting ahead. 9. The sky glitched over Indiana. The world paused for a moment. A quick flash, and then the sky looked like someone was switching it on and off. In Indiana, a video spread rapidly online, showing the sky flickering like a broken screen. Blue, orange, and red light pulsed again and again, making an entire street fall silent. The person filming whispered in confusion, "Are you recording this?" And honestly, watching it makes us feel the same kind of unease. Everything started on what seemed like an ordinary evening. Cars were still moving, streetlights were still glowing, the sky above had its familiar blue color. But then, within just a few seconds, the light overhead began to flash as if a giant switch was being turned on and off. Blue shifted to bright orange, then deep red, then sudden darkness, repeating again and again like the heartbeat of a world that was malfunctioning. It wasn't only the sky that changed. Traffic lights suddenly went dark. Rows of street lights faded out at the same time, as if some invisible power had cut the electricity. The sound of the city seemed to disappear. Cars slowed down. Birds stopped singing. Even the wind felt quiet. For a few moments, Indiana looked like a giant stage where someone had pressed the pause button. In the book of Matthew, chapter 24, verse 29, the Bible once spoke about moments like this. The powers of the heavens will be shaken. When the sky flickers like a system having trouble, many people begin to wonder whether it is simply a natural event or a sign that something much bigger is moving behind the curtain of the universe. The video goes on to show the light completely disappearing for a few seconds, leaving a deep darkness hanging over the city. Then suddenly, the sky bursts back into light again, almost as if someone restarted the entire world. That sudden change sent chills through many viewers because it didn't look like a storm or lightning. It looked more like a system being interfered with. In the book of Hebrews, chapter 12, verse 26, there is a powerful warning. His voice shook the earth then, but now he has promised, "Once more, I will shake not only the earth, but also the heavens." When people read those words again, some believe the shaking may not come only from the ground, but could begin in the sky above. Of course, some say it was only an optical effect, or perhaps a power grid problem that made the light reflect strangely on the clouds. But the question remains, if it was just a simple technical issue, why did the sky, the streetlights, and the traffic signals all fall into that strange on and off pattern at the exact same time? For many viewers, the video feels like a brief warning, not an immediate disaster, but a moment that reminds people how fragile the world really is. When the sky, something we usually think will never change, can suddenly flicker like a controlled system, a quiet sense of unease begins to grow in the minds of millions watching. Maybe the most unsettling part isn't the flashing light itself. Maybe it's the feeling that something is preparing to change. A short pause in the rhythm of the world, like a reminder that time may be moving faster than we think. And if the sky really did glitch for a few seconds, then the bigger question is still waiting ahead. Because the next time the sky flickers, it might not last only a few seconds. 10. Bright objects flying at terrifying speeds over Nevada, the final encounter. A quiet night over the skies of Nevada. Then, suddenly, a series of bright objects shoot across the sky at terrifying speed, crossing paths like living flashes of lightning. The camera captured the moment, leaving anyone who watches it stunned, because those blue-white points of light move far too fast and far too precisely, as if the entire sky has suddenly turned into a stage for a mysterious parade unfolding right before our eyes. The Nevada sky has long been known for strange stories, but this video pushes things far beyond imagination. Small glowing dots appear from different directions, racing across the sky at a speed that is almost impossible to follow with the naked eye. They cut across each other's paths at extremely close distances, seeming ready to collide. Yet in a split second, they shift direction perfectly and form a new pattern across the night sky. At times, they shoot straight ahead like arrows made of light. At other moments, they curve and glide in smooth arcs, almost like a dance in the air. Every movement is carried out with such precision that many people feel as if they are witnessing an invisible battle taking place above their heads. Watching the footage brings a rush of adrenaline, because the feeling of amazement and uneasiness blends together at the same time. In the book of Luke, chapter 21, verse 11, the Bible once spoke about moments like this, quote, "There will be great signs and signs in the sky." When reading those words again, many people begin to look at those glowing objects from a different perspective. Perhaps they are not simply strange lights in the sky, but signs that something is moving in the heavens above this world. The speed of these objects has surprised even many experts. They streak past one another like beams of light, then instantly change direction without slowing down at all. The person filming still managed to capture every moment, showing that the movements are not random. Everything looks like a formation being guided with great precision, as if an unseen command is directing every path. In the book of Revelation, chapter 8, verse 5, a powerful image is recorded. Then the angel took the censer, filled it with fire from the altar, and hurled it to the earth. As the lights streak across the Nevada sky like fiery darts flying through the night, many people cannot help but feel a chill when thinking about those ancient words written thousands of years ago. Some believe these are simply experimental technology or advanced flying devices. But one question continues to trouble many observers. If this is human technology, how can those objects move with such speed and coordination, almost perfect in every motion, far beyond anything we have ever known about control in the air? For many viewers, this video is more than just a spectacular sight. It feels like a reminder that the sky still holds mysteries beyond human understanding. As those lights race past each other with almost supernatural speed, it gives the sense that forces in the heavens are becoming more active than ever before. Perhaps this is only a rare moment, or perhaps it is a signal that a decisive point in human history is drawing closer. And as people watch those glowing objects streak through the darkness, many begin to realize that the sky above us may not be as silent as we once believed. Because if those lights truly are moving closer day by day, then one day we may not only see them from far away anymore. Those objects may be heading straight toward us, and when they finally arrive, history could turn to an entirely different page. After everything we have just seen, one thing becomes clearer than ever. Those signs were not just random moments in the sky. When unusual events appear one after another, mysterious lights, objects moving at incredible speed, and breathtaking scenes in the heavens, many people begin to feel that the world may be entering a very special moment. Not everyone notices it right away, but the more we look back at each sign, the more it feels like a much bigger picture is slowly coming into view. In the book of Luke, chapter 21, verse 11, the Bible once said, "There will be great earthquakes, famines, and pestilences in many places, and fearful events, and great signs from heaven." When strange events appear in the sky and spread across the world through short video clips, many people begin to wonder if those ancient words could be coming alive right here in our time. Some people may say it is all just coincidence, only natural events, or perhaps technology that has not been revealed yet. But when many signs appear at the same time, with details that go beyond normal explanations, a deeper question begins to rise in the hearts of many. What if this really is a reminder from heaven? What if these scenes are a final call for humanity to pause, reflect, and think about the path we are walking? In the book of Revelation, chapter 3, verse 3, a warning was written long ago. "Remember what you have received and heard. Hold it fast and repent. But if you do not wake up, I will come like a thief, and you will not know at what hour I will come." These words were not meant to fill people with fear, but to awaken the soul. Sometimes, even a small sign in the sky can remind us that life is more fragile than we think. Perhaps the most important thing, after seeing all these signs, is not to argue about what they are, but to ask ourselves how we are living. If today were the final day of history, would we truly be ready to stand before the Creator? That question is not meant to cause panic, but to help each person rediscover faith, repentance, and hope. If the images in this video have touched your heart, take a quiet moment right now. You may leave a short prayer in the comments or share your sincere thoughts. Sometimes, even a simple prayer can become a light for someone else who is reading those words. If you feel this message is worth sharing with others, please like this video, share it, and subscribe to the channel so you do not miss any messages in the stories that come next. Sometimes just one message at the right moment can change the way we see the world and the way we see ourselves. Thank you for spending your time and staying with us until the very end. May God bless you and your family, keep you in His peace, hope, and light. May every new day bring us one step closer to true peace in the heart. Amen.
I don't know what in the holy funnel is going on in front of me, but
¿qué es eso? Sí, se supone que ya está el sol.
Is the sky sending humanity its final warning? A door of light appeared in the middle of the sky. A tightly twisted tower of clouds reaching thousands of feet high. A red ring hanging straight up in the night. A still halo of light right before a big storm. Orange beams shooting straight through the clouds. It all happened so fast, one after another, with no warning. Then, a green pillar of light rose up in the dark night. A floating fireball exploded with a boom. A huge, white ring covered the city. Bright spots streaked across the New Jersey sky. A white shape hidden inside a ring of smoky clouds. History has recorded big light rings in Italy and glowing orbs in the US. But this time, the events came one right after another, like a clear message. Do you believe these are warnings and that our time is running short? If your answer is yes, please leave a prayer in the comments to show your faith before we go into each sign in detail. Amen. And now, so you don't have to wait long, we'll get started right away with 1. The sky gate opens right in front of humanity. A glowing window hangs motionless in the sky, like someone sliced a straight line through space. Up on a high mountain in the US, a hiker raises his camera, and that moment gets caught on video before we even figure out what we're looking at. It's not clouds, not an airplane, not a sun reflection. It's a clear, sharp opening right there in the open air. That perfect circle appears about 300 feet above the ground, sparkling like a pane of glass, showing another world. Its edges tremble a little, not because of wind or weather. The air around it feels stretched, as if an invisible curtain just got parted. The whole thing lasts only a few seconds, but long enough for the camera to record it and clear enough to rule out a simple trick of the eye. This reminds a lot of folks about the Brock inspector seen on mountains in New Hampshire, where a person's shadow gets a bright ring from fog and sunlight. But this is different. No shadow of a person, no rainbow halo, just a door frame, standing alone in the middle of the sky. Some people link it to physics ideas about extra dimensions, that the universe might have more than our usual 3, maybe up to 11, according to string theory. Revelation 6:14 says, "The sky vanished like a scroll being rolled up, and every mountain and island was moved from its place." The image of the sky rolling up like a book makes many think right away of that bright frame hanging there, as if part of the heavenly curtain just got turned back. It's not just one odd event anymore. It fits into a much bigger picture described thousands of years ago. Joel 2:30 says, "I will show wonders in the heavens and on the earth, blood, fire, and pillars of smoke." The words "wonders in the heavens" feel like the key, placing this right in the middle of those old prophecies. If the skies can show signs, then a shining door up there starts to make sense. Some folks say it's only an optical effect from mist and light, but that doesn't explain the clean, straight edges or how it floats free from the mountains around it. Science can talk about light and refraction, but it can't say why this showed up at just the right moment, right spot, and got filmed so perfectly. A door opening in the sky is too plain and striking to brush off. If that's only a quick glimpse through a gap in the heavens, what happens when that gap gets pulled open wider? 2. The giant mysterious cloud tower. The sky suddenly twisted into a huge cloud tower, standing straight up in the air, like something built in just a few minutes. There was no extreme weather warning, no clear tornado signal, but a tight spinning column of cloud still rose thousands of feet high. It took over the whole horizon and made everyone stop and stare. This showed up in a wide open sky, similar to those swirling clouds recorded in the US and Hong Kong when strong winds make spiral shapes. But this time, the cloud structure didn't just spin, it held a strangely stable form, like a tower with a clear center axis. It didn't spread out right away or break apart. Instead, it stretched for miles, giving the feeling that the sky was being squeezed and twisted around one central point. That cloud column was thick and dense, with layers wrapped tightly together like a giant rope hanging in the sky. The air around it moved in odd directions, birds scattered, and sunlight got sliced into patches. When you look at the pictures, you realize this isn't like a normal cloud drifting by. It feels more like a sign put up on purpose, standing there, as a reminder you can't ignore. Luke 21:25 says clearly, "There will be signs in the sun, moon, and stars. On the earth, nations will be in anguish and perplexity at the roaring and tossing of the sea." The phrase "signs" puts this cloud tower into a bigger warning picture, where nature no longer runs the way we're used to. It becomes a tool showing disorder. When order up high starts to change, trouble down here doesn't feel so strange anymore. Revelation 15:1 records, "I saw in heaven another great and marvelous sign, 7 angels with the 7 last plagues. For with them, God's wrath is completed. The words, great and marvelous sign, ring out like a direct warning, stressing that what's appearing in the sky isn't just something to look at. It's a reminder that consequences are getting close. Some people say it's just strong, swirling winds, forming a special cloud shape. But that explanation doesn't answer why the cloud tower stayed so perfectly balanced and lasted longer than a normal swirling cloud usually does. If it was only a short-term weather event, that long-lasting stability becomes something hard to overlook. The sight of this towering cloud brings to mind the old story of people building a tower to reach the heavens, a symbol of ambition going beyond limits. When nature itself builds a tower in the sky, it's no longer random chance. It's a reminder of the consequences of pride and growing chaos over time. If this cloud tower is just the beginning, what happens when those structures up high stop standing still and start coming down? 3. A ring of fire twisting in the sky. A blood-red ring twisted and curled across the night sky, flashing for a moment, then coiling up like a living thing struggling in the dark. The whole thing lasted just a few seconds, but it was enough to make your heart pound hard. Have you ever seen the sky tear open and glow like something was just ripped out of the invisible world? It showed up in the thick darkness, similar to those red sprites that people have recorded in Italy and the US after really powerful lightning strikes. Up around 50 miles above the ground, a red, glowing ring formed from a fierce bolt of lightning. But instead of just flashing and disappearing, it twisted like a snake coiling up, moving in strange, uneven ways before fading into nothing. That glowing ring didn't just shine, it actually spun around an invisible center. Its edges looked warped and stretched out like fiery tentacles. The red wasn't even all the way through. It got darker and deeper toward the middle, fading lighter at the edges, making it feel like a ring of blood floating high up in the sky. The dark night around it got stained with this gloomy red, and the whole space felt heavy and hard to breathe in. Joel 2:31 says, "The sun will be turned to darkness and the moon to blood before the great and terrible day of the Lord comes." That picture of the moon turning to blood isn't just a symbol. It's a warning about the sky changing color as a kind of charge sheet against humanity. When the sky changes color like that, it's no longer some harmless thing. It's a sign we've been told about ahead of time. Still, some folks say it's just high-altitude red lightning, a rare plasma reaction in the atmosphere. But the clear twisting and the almost perfect circle shape make that explanation feel pretty weak. A regular lightning bolt doesn't shape itself into a giant ring and then quietly shrink back like it's finishing some secret message. Matthew 24-30 says, "Then the sign of the Son of Man will appear in the sky, and all the peoples of the earth will mourn." Those words, "the sign will appear in the sky," sound like a confirmation that these things showing up in the air aren't random. The mourning mentioned isn't something people just imagine. It's real fear when folks realize they're facing something that was already foretold. That red ring vanished quickly, leaving the sky pitch black, like nothing ever happened. But the uneasy feeling didn't go away. It was like a fiery seal stamped onto the night, reminding us that the normal order can break apart in an instant. It wasn't just light, it was a warning ring of blood hanging over humanity's head. The small ring disappeared, but is a bigger one quietly forming somewhere, big enough to cover the whole earth in that final red glow. 4. Mysterious red circle in California. A huge red circle just hung there motionless in the California sky right before the storm rolled in, floating like a mark carved straight into the clouds. No wild lightning, no booming thunder, just a deep red circle appeared and stayed put, challenging the swirling winds. Before the really strong winds kicked up, this glowing ring showed up, similar to things seen before in Louisiana and Kansas, but this time it barely moved at all. Shaking, deep red like hot coals, with a sharp, clear edge hanging thousands of feet up, making it feel like an invisible hand had just drawn a mysterious sign in the darkening sky. The clouds around it thickened layer by layer, slowly swallowing the outer edges of the circle, but the center kept glowing dimly, refusing to fade away. Everything got hazy. Sunlight filtered through the gray clouds, creating a strange red halo that's hard to explain. When you see something like that, don't you ever wonder why such a perfect shape shows up right when the sky is about to get angry? Revelation 6:12 says, "When the Lamb opened the sixth seal, there was a great earthquake. The sun became black like sackcloth, and the moon became red like blood." The picture of a darkened sun and a blood-red moon sounds just like a description of weird color changes in the sky. That red circle hanging in the storm clouds makes that prophecy feel very real, as if nature is replaying a scene that was written long ago. A lot of folks say it's just sunlight scattering through thick clouds before a storm, a rare optical effect, but nothing supernatural. Still, the almost perfect roundness and the way it stayed in place despite the strong winds make that explanation hard to swallow. When light forms such a clear shape that looks like a symbol, the coincidence starts to feel unsettling. Luke 21:11 says, "There will be great signs from heaven." Great signs doesn't mean faint lights or quiet drifting clouds. It points to strong enough signs that make people stop and look. The red circle over California, showing up right before the storm, felt like a warning of bigger changes coming, not just weather, but the fragile order of the world. After a few minutes, the circle faded and disappeared completely into the thick gray clouds, leaving a murky sky and howling winds. The sign may have vanished, but the message still lingers in the minds of those who saw it. The red circle is gone, but when the real storm hits, what will get swept away in the sky's next outburst? 5. The mysterious orange-gold orb, like a copy of the sun. A quiet orange beam appeared in the calm sky. It wasn't loud or flashy, but it made anyone watching stop and stare. On one side, the sun was shining like normal. On the other, a deep orange ball-shaped halo just hung there in the air, sending out sharp white rays like spears cutting through the clouds. Seeing that contrast, you can't help but wonder what might be hiding behind our everyday light. This same kind of thing has been seen before with orange orbs in Arizona and some other U.S. states, where the sky suddenly split into two very clear opposite halves. Amazing! The glowing orange sphere didn't spread its light evenly. Instead, it focused all the energy into those straight white beams shooting downward, making almost perfect geometric lines that stretched for miles across the grayish-blue sky. The air around it turned hazy, and the natural light got bent by those strange rays. One half of the sky kept its familiar warm golden color. The other half shifted to bright orange mixed with cold white, as if two different realities were existing side by side. That split wasn't just something you saw. It gave the feeling of an invisible line being drawn between the normal world and something we haven't fully understood yet. Isaiah 13:10 says, "For the stars of heaven and its constellations will not give their light. The sun will be dark when it rises, and the moon will not shine." That prophecy talks about a sudden change in the lights up above, when the usual sources of light no longer do what they always did. The picture of one part of the sky glowing unusually bright, while another part dims and seems covered, makes those old words feel like an explanation for what's happening right now. Scientists say it's just rare clouds combined with a special angle of the sun creating an unusual halo. But the sharp accuracy of those white rays and the almost perfect round shape of the orange orb make that simple explanation feel a bit weak. When light doesn't scatter but forms clear structures instead, it starts to feel like some kind of message is being sent. Revelation 8:12 says, "The fourth angel sounded his trumpet, and a third of the sun was struck, a third of the moon, and a third of the stars, so that a third of them turned dark." The phrase "a third turned dark" describes light being divided into parts, no longer whole like before. The contrast between the bright orange area and the normal sky reminds you of that division, as if the sky is showing us in pictures what was warned about long ago. The orange beam slowly faded, the white rays pulled back and blended into the sky again, bringing everything back to normal. But the memory of that line between light and shadow stays with you. It reminds us that all this stability might only be temporary. While the sun is still shining, the real question isn't whether darkness will come, it's when it will cover everything. 6. Mysterious light moving wildly across the night sky. In the quiet of the night, a blue column of light suddenly shot straight up into the sky, standing tall like a pillar connecting the earth to the endless beyond. No sound, no flash to announce it, just a cold beam cutting through the darkness, making everything around it feel like time had slowed down or even stopped for a moment. This is similar to the blue jets that have been seen in Norway or Arizona, reaching about 30 miles above thunderstorm clouds. But unlike those that flash and vanish in a second, this green-blue column stayed soft and steady in shape, like a glowing ribbon hanging straight up in the pitch-black sky. The light wasn't harsh or blinding, it was gentle, with real depth. The center was darker and stronger than the edges, giving it a feeling that was both real and somehow otherworldly. It didn't seem to come from any clear spot on the ground, and it didn't spread out like lightning. It just existed there on its own, in the middle of the air. When you look at something like that, do you ever wonder if the sky is trying to send us a quiet reminder instead of a loud thunderclap? That image brings to mind the spiral anomaly once recorded in Norway, where light swirled out like an invisible gate. Even though this one didn't have a clear spiral, the blue column still felt like it was linking two worlds, as if a straight path had just been drawn so our eyes could follow it higher and higher. The dark night was no longer just empty blackness, it became the background for a sign that made your heart grow still. Luke 21:25 says, "There will be signs in the sun, moon, and stars." The words signs don't just mean big scary events. They also include things that make people stop and think. When a blue column stands quiet in the night, those words open up a different way of seeing. The sky isn't just for looking at, it's also for listening to. Some folks say it's probably just a laser beam or man-made light reflecting off high clouds. But the total stillness around that column, no shaking, no swaying in the wind, makes it feel like it goes beyond ordinary mechanical explanations. A man-made light would have a hard time staying that soft and natural, almost like it was born right out of the sky itself. Revelation 6:13 says, "The stars in the sky fell to the earth, like figs dropping from a fig tree when a strong wind shakes it." That picture of movement between heaven and earth shows a powerful connection between the two realms. This blue column reaching upward feels like the opposite kind of bridge, quietly inviting our gaze to look up and reconnect with the faith that sometimes falls asleep inside us. The column slowly faded, blending back into the darkness as if it had never been there. But the memory of that pillar of light linking earth and sky still lingers. It doesn't force anything, doesn't threaten, it just gently guides our thoughts to the time we have left and where we stand in this huge universe. The light stood still in the night, but where will the path it opened lead when the final darkness really comes down? 7. Strange lightning ball, shocking in the middle of the storm. A bright ball suddenly hung there in the air, then a clap of thunder came booming right out from its very center. The light didn't spread out. It rolled up tight into an almost perfect sphere. Anyone who saw it felt scared but couldn't look away. If you were standing right there in that scene, could you really say it was just some normal thing? In the middle of that fierce storm, this showed up much like the ball lightning folks have reported in Alberta and several US states, maybe a few feet across. But instead of just flashing for a second, this glowing ball floated steady, moved slowly, like it had a purpose. A white-blue light wrapped around a soft golden core, making it feel alive and hard to explain. The smell of ozone filled the wet air. Strong winds blew, yet the ball barely got pushed off course. Thousands who watched from a distance called it a little sun drifting through the gray sheets of rain. Right when it gave a little shake, thunder exploded, and that sound wasn't just regular noise. It felt like a loud announcement coming straight from the sky. Joel 2:30 says, "I will show wonders in the heavens and on the earth, blood, fire, and columns of smoke." The words fire and wonders sound like a warning that bright signs in the sky aren't totally unexpected. When a fireball hangs there in the storm, that old prophecy seems written again in blinding light. Still, some people think differently. They say it's just ball lightning, a rare plasma thing that happens in strong thunderstorms. But the way the ball shape and the thunder happened almost at the same time makes a lot of folks wonder. Nature can explain the shape maybe, but it's hard to explain the awesome feeling that came over people when that sound hit like a wake-up call. Matthew 24:27 says, "For as the lightning comes from the east and flashes to the west, so will be the coming of the Son of Man." That picture of lightning streaking across the whole sky reminds us of speed and power way beyond human control. When the bright ball flared up in the storm and then burst in a flash, that verse rings out like proof that people have been warned about signs from above. The ball shook one last time, then exploded in a white streak that tore through the rain, leaving a boom that echoed down into the ground. After that moment, the sky went black, as if no light had ever been there, but the sense of awe stayed behind. The thunderball vanished, but when a real ball of judgment finally breaks open, what will still be standing in the final wrath? 8. A mysterious white ring hanging in the sky. Right in the middle of lunchtime, while the city was still noisy and the sky seemed perfectly normal, a huge white ring suddenly appeared high overhead. No sound, no shaking, just a soft, glowing circle around the sun, like a gate someone had quietly drawn on the blue background. If you looked up at that exact moment, would you think it was just a random coincidence? That ring of light was really big, covering a wide patch of sky over the city. It looked a lot like the halo phenomena that have shown up in places like Idaho or Tacoma, but this one seemed wider and sharper. The white glow wasn't blinding, it was gentle. The edge was thin, but so perfect it hardly had any breaks at all. It just hung there for hours without fading away fast like thin clouds do. An ordinary day suddenly felt extraordinary. As that light spread over the buildings and busy streets, everything seemed to slow down. Lots of people stopped walking, pulled out their phones to record it, but you could still see the wonder in their eyes. The white ring didn't spin or shake hard, it just stayed there quietly, like a symbol waiting for someone to explain it. Isaiah 7:11 says, "Ask the Lord your God for a sign, whether from the depths below or from the heights above." That invitation to ask for a sign from the heights above makes this white ring feel like more than just a simple light effect. When a perfect circle shows up right in the middle of the day, those old words become the key that shines light on the symbol hanging overhead. Some folks say it's just an ice halo, sunlight bending through ice crystals high up in the atmosphere. But the unusual size and how long it lasted made many people feel this wasn't something ordinary. When a ring of light covers the whole city sky, the idea of a heavenly gate opening starts creeping into people's thoughts. Revelation 15:1 records, "I saw another great and marvelous sign in heaven." Those words, great and marvelous, seemed to match the size and mysterious beauty of that white ring exactly. It didn't threaten or explode, but it was enough to make people quietly wonder about things beyond the physical world. The light slowly faded as the sun moved. The circle grew dimmer, then blended back into the blue sky like it had never been there. Even so, the feeling of an invisible gate still lingers, like a reminder that the sky isn't just empty space. It might be a place sending signals full of meaning. The white ring may stay in our memories, but when the real gate opens, who will be the one to step across that boundary? 9. The stars moving in a strange, chaotic way across the sky. This time-lapse video of the New Jersey sky unexpectedly shows a bunch of bright orbs sliding through the clouds like living, glowing dots. No engine noise, no smoke trails, just these steady points of light gliding smoothly through the silvery gray night. When you slow it down and watch frame by frame, do you ever get the feeling they're looking right back at you? Across the New Jersey sky, just like the orbs spotted before in Morris County, those bright points move so smoothly along paths that are hard to predict. They don't fly in straight, fixed lines like regular passenger planes, and they don't flash like aviation lights. Instead, each orb keeps an even distance from the others, moving gently as if they're part of a carefully planned dance. Some witnesses, including local officials near the golf course area, say they saw those bright dots with their own eyes. In the footage, they drift through low clouds, appearing and disappearing, with a soft white light tinged a little blue, not too bright, but clear enough to stand out against the dark sky. It feels odd when you realize they're in no hurry at all, almost like they're choosing to stay visible a little longer. Luke 21:11 says, "There will be great signs from heaven." The phrase "great signs" doesn't have to mean loud thunder or raging storms. It can be quiet but persistent hints. When lots of orbs show up together and move in sync, the sight goes beyond random chance and becomes something hard to ignore. With that smooth motion and the way they change direction without any jerkiness, the drone idea starts to feel questionable. Drones usually make noise and change altitude noticeably, but these orbs seem to glide through the air as if wind or drag doesn't affect them at all. Matthew 24:30 says, "Then the sign of the Son of Man will appear in the sky, and all the peoples of the earth will mourn." The picture of a sign appearing in the sky gives those glowing dots a strong symbolic feel. When the sky turns into a stage for these mysterious movements, that verse rings like a reminder that humanity hasn't been left without warnings. The time-lapse ends as the orbs slowly fade behind thick clouds, leaving the sky empty again like before. Still, their slow, steady rhythm lingers in your mind, like a dance that isn't quite finished. Those orbs pass through the New Jersey sky, but where will their journey take them next on the world map? 10. Mysterious cloud ring, like God drew it right up in the sky. A white shape appeared inside the hazy cloud ring, like a living painting hung in midair, holy and hard to pin down. No thunder, no wild winds, just a perfect round shape with a soft, bright center standing out against the pale blue sky. When your eyes lock on that center, it feels like you're being invited into a place way beyond our everyday world. The sky that day was completely calm, kind of like those smoke rings or halos that show up now and then in special weather conditions. But this cloud ring wasn't just a fuzzy circle. Right in the middle was a clear white shape, like clouds packed tight into a symbol. The edges were soft and gently swirling, while the center glowed brighter, giving it depth, like a door opening to something higher up. That white shape moved slowly, almost drifting with the sky's own breathing, not in a hurry to fade away. Anyone watching got pulled into how it changed bit by bit. The hazy edges would thin out, then get stronger again, making the whole thing feel personal, like every person saw a different message in it. It didn't feel like just watching clouds anymore. It felt like reading a letter written in smoke and light. Joel 2:30 says, "I will show wonders in the heavens and on the earth, blood, fire, and columns of smoke." Those words about columns of smoke